Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. This is RAND, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Friday, September 6th, 2024, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We're having a reverse aging health call and all the rest tonight, and a little after 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We got millions of doors to walk through in this life and our spiritual journey. No matter if we are conscious human beings or not. Our mind is constantly judging ourselves, other people, the world, anything that it can get a hold of. You ever been in a situation where you're just watching, right? Observing, and then that ego mind comes in, and you'll go over to the judging that being, judging them, something, clothes, weight, whatever. But then you say to yourself, I'm not going to go there. You know, I've done that so many times before. I'm just going to look at them for the God that's within them, period. And after a while, you get to the point where you don't go there with the ego mind and judge. And this civilization, as you know, this society on this planet, has a propensity to do that all the time. You know, people being judged, worried about how they're going to be accepted, how they're viewed, what they do, how that's viewed, what others think about them. And see, our mind is like this master judgeaholic. And it can judge anything in milliseconds. Now, most of us don't realize this. Yet probably, in the last 15 minutes, your mind passed 10 judgments on yourself, someone else, or something in the world around you as either good or bad. Now, this judgmental mind is perpetually busy working away at labeling life. And this workaholic is it's a slippery little fella to catch. We are so accustomed to the mind judging everything in this life. It's as if we've been literally soaking ourselves forever in a bath of water, not realizing that our skin was falling off. So just to clarify exactly what judgment is the mind labeling something in this life as either good or bad, but not both. It's not both. It's either one or the other. It is a one-sided viewpoint of existence. And this separates and divides, interestingly. And judgment only manifests only when we are living up in the head and are disconnected, and I don't mean literally but figuratively, from our hearts. When we're living from the heart, the mind cannot judge. Cannot, period. And this occurs because the heart is free from duality. And the mind can only exist in duality, seeing black and white. The heart cannot get hooked, and whatever the mind believes is only good or bad. Pretty interesting, isn't it? And when the heart is leading the way, we are free from the perpetual prison of the judging mind. You ever caught yourself doing that in this lifetime? Somewhere along the line where you were in that like judgeaholic state and you were judging things and judging people and, all across the board. Now, many of us are discovering, how the heck am I going to be free from judgment? Those are the ones that are aware. So we make a choice to drop out of the head and into the heart. What happens to the mind? It will quiet. And it'll become very still. Now from this space, we can observe, watch our mind closely, and see just how slippery its judgmental habit is. We can see how it tends to avoid what it deems as scary. And the mind often believes that if I get what I want, this is good, then I will be happy. And if I get what I don't want, this is bad, and then I will be unhappy. Pretty simple. So the more we move into the enlightened path, or spiritual evolution, is understanding that in this great divine, supreme, all-intelligent universe, we're going to get it all. We always, always, always get what we want and what we don't want. And how is that? Well, on my call Wednesday night, I talked about two sides of the coin. Now, obviously, do we think about that? No. What we're focused on is you're looking at one side of the coin, okay? So you get all this money. Now, you're not analyzing or doing anything but enjoying that moment, right? And then things start happening and showing up, and then your mind starts going, what am I gonna do with this? How am I gonna, do this, and this, and how am I gonna keep it safe? And how am I gonna? You see what I mean? It's in anything. It's in anything. You get excited about something, whatever it may be, whatever tickles your fancy, and it doesn't have to be a thing. Could be a being, right? You could be like on cloud nine because you believe you've met the one, right? And then as time goes by, you start seeing things with that being that you're just not enthused about. And you start noticing certain things, and of course, there's a judgmental mind. And you go, wow, this isn't as great as I thought it would be. This is what we mean when we talk about both sides of the coin, the good and the bad. It's a balance. It's a yin-yang situation. But you can look at that other side of the coin and say, okay, I get this. I get it. It's not something that's catastrophic for me. I know that my mind judges 24/7. But I look at the things that are enjoyable and positive for me. Okay? Now, you're not ignoring the other side of the coin because you've looked at it. You're experiencing it. But there's a balance there, right? You might have something or acquire something that could be anything, a boat, plane, house. You ever notice when you move into a dwelling, when you first look at it, you go, wow, this is it. This is perfect, exactly what I wanted. And then as time goes by, you start noticing things and you go, probably wouldn't have got the place because of this, or this is too small here, and that's the other side of the coin. So how do we balance that from our perspective? You look at the one side of the coin where everything you're looking at is great, phenomenal. Then you look at the other side of the coin and say, you know what? This is okay. Not a big deal. That's how you end up tempering. That's why we have two sides of the coin. We look at both. Now, some of us won't look at the other side because our ego mind has got us pigeonholed only on that one side. And we don't care to go over the other side because we're afraid that's going to spoil the good side. So we ignore it. But it shows up. It always shows up. So we face it, and we look at it and say, that's okay. And if it is ridiculously on the low end, then we make adjustments. Many of us, and many of the people I've talked with through the years, have had, pretty dark issues and childhood insecurities that surface every day. Or perhaps we spend half of our life running in the great social rat race being devoted to what? What the rat race is about. Striving, right? Achieving big, luxurious dreams and becoming financially free. Only to realize later, and I've talked to people like this too, only realize later that they missed out on so many things. They missed out on so many beautiful sunsets while they were indoors chasing some fantasy. This life always is both. We get death and birth. We always get both. And this polar opposite is inside everything that exists. The yin is contained within the yang, and the yang within the yin. The more often that we practice seeing, feeling into, and accepting how we always get what we want and what we don't want in this life, the judgmental mind does something. It just drops on its own accord. We ease and start living every day in deep harmony and existence. We become vulnerable to existence again. And in this wonderful humility, we can feel the great protection of life. We deeply accept that this existence is the expression of the highest intelligence, and that the good-bad judgment plan is the smartest plan available from God to create a spiritual awakening experience inside every being on this earth. And I challenge you to see if you can find a single situation, being or thing of this world that is only 100% positive and does not also have the tiniest hidden negative byproduct within it. If you think you found something like a new flower budding on an amazing sunset, just wait and investigate it a bit longer, as both sides will eventually show there is another side to the coin. And the flower will one day wither away and the amazing sunset colors fade into the darkness. We always get both. The rose always comes with a few thorns, even if they're real tiny thorns. Now, my invitation for you today is to free yourself from the judgment habit. You can do this. You just start looking deeper into yourself. Accept any judgments you may have. There's a lot of them. People judge themselves because they feel they're overweight, too short, too ugly, too poor, too dumb, too smart, too much in the head. But when you welcome all these judgments that you have about yourself and not reject, avoid, or judge them, see them for what they are. They are one-sided judgments that you have about you when you can truly see and welcome the judgment. Now, it's going to have less energy and magnetic pull on you. And in a matter of minutes, the contracting hard feeling around the judgmental thought will lessen, drop into stillness. And then you will become truly free from it. Now, as far as this welcoming process works, the secret is moving totally into the experience of judging. When you consciously are feeling only one side of the judgment, awareness grows in you. You will not fail. You cannot fail or fall into that old judgment again so easily next time. You can just see how it impacts your mind, emotions, and heart. And when you remain in a one-sided experience of life, deeply and fully for a long time, something inside you will soon tire, and then the judgment pendulum just swings to the other side. Many of us only look at one side. Now, it's a good side that we gravitate to just that side, say. We don't, I'm not, there's no other side, it's just this side. For example, you may feel and say that you say, I am never good enough. I've had people say this. I mean, deeply say this. I cannot do anything right. Now, after welcoming that judgment and feeling, in other words, you're embracing it. Full body hug. Not this chest pump or fist pump. Just for 5 to 10 or even 20 minutes, something in you will exhaust itself. Release the contraction and wake up. Now, this smaller, more enlightened aspect inside you will sneak in and perceive that on some level you are doing everything right and you are totally good enough. When you welcome judgment, the judgment pendulum soon swings, and this allows you to know what perfect peace feels like. It's when we carry things. Are we aware that we're carrying them? I don't believe so. Maybe a tad, okay? And know it's there. Could be traumas through your life, emotional upheavals, material situations. There's a plethora of things, as we all know. We don't address them. We stave them off. It takes a lot of energy to do that, especially when they keep coming up, kept showing themselves, right? You say to yourself, you might say to yourself, boy, this is really bugging me. I got to do something about this. Why does it keep showing up? That happened a long time ago. Who's the culprit? Well, the ego mind. So you turn around and you say, I'm going to give this thing a big, full body hug. I don't care if I do it for 5, 10, or even 15, 20 minutes. Now, some people may think that, and there are people, obviously, that think that always welcoming and acknowledging both the good and bad in this life is just some boring, fatalistic, nihilistic, uncreative path that only leads to a state of apathy. Quite the contrary is true. By learning to accept and welcome it all, we find that we are truly okay with everything that is and feel a more spacious quality within ourselves. We feel we have more time to develop our ability to expand consciousness and relax into our lives. How many of us are actually relaxed into our life? I don't mean being complacent or regimented, but how many of us are relaxed into our minds, and into our lives, and our minds? Relaxing into our lives. Sounds great, doesn't it? From this expanded space, we dramatically increase our manifesting vibration. We deepen our state of inner peace. We become a magnet for the most amazing life situations to occur. You see how it works? It's not that difficult to understand or comprehend. Then we will find that the welcoming process is extremely powerful, simply because it leaves nothing out. It comes from a deep spiritual space inside you that is saying yes to the totality of your existence. You are just not interested in fighting, proving anything, or resisting this life anymore. Instead, you move and feel totally fluid like water, without resistance, force, or control. In this state, it's so easy to realize that God is everything and in everything. This is a great quote, old quote from Robert Louis Stevenson. Don't judge a day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds you plant. It is this deep, welcoming mind that creates an enlightened mindset, where you actually feel, see, and understand the divine perfection of life. We become more interesting people as we stop wasting our energy trying to negate others, negate ourselves, or continuously be upset with the way life is. In a mind that is free from all judgments of ourselves and others, we naturally appreciate it all. Don't you? You ever been in that space where you're just being? You might be sitting on a park bench, you might be in your home, might be on your deck, wherever. Might be in the woods. And everything just is flowing. You're not stepping in between it, you're just enjoying it. We can see that the glass is half empty and half full at the same time. We can feel this infinite empty universe all around us. And also sense how the sun is always rising somewhere on this planet, sharing and radiating its brilliant light. Maybe you said this to somebody who's kind of like in the dumpster, right? And you might say, I'm so tired of cloudy days. Where's the sun? Kind of like you view the glass as half empty and half full. And you say to them, the sun's always there. Go up above the clouds, the sun's always there. Now, some of us will say, oh yeah, but I don't see it. You see, ego mind. When we choose to live in the enlightened mindset, it is like floating in a sea of orgasm. Picture that. Waves of deep cosmic, opening to joy, happiness, appreciation, ecstasy, can actually waft through our bodies at any time. When the mind is not occupied with judgments, evaluations, criticism, we have more energy to make more love, explore our spiritual nature, taste the freedom that exists at the core of our being. When we can live daily in this enlightened mindset, everything inside us changes. All the previous pain we've been carrying seem to have mysteriously disappeared. We can naturally and fully relax into our divine balanced nature. Now, an interesting aspect, I believe one of the most interesting aspects of all, is that this judgment-free enlightened mind is our most natural state of being. It is already inside us and exists at the core of who we are, at the seed of our consciousness itself. We can only experience it directly, however, when we have respect and reverence for the perfect balance that exists in everything. When we acknowledge this divine balance within every situation, being, coincidence, accident, belief, memory, and atom throughout this universe, we can open it up. We can open up to it. More acceptance we have that there's always good in the bad and bad in the good. Something deeper inside us lets go. We can finally relax into our deepest spiritual experience of this life. When the mind calls off the search for defining, redefining what's good and bad, we have an infinite reservoir of creative energy to surrender fully to our soul. We're all enlightened beings in these bodies. It's just the majority of us have never discovered that. This enlightened life is not just about cultivating a deeper relationship with our mind. It's about getting beyond the mind. When you master your mind, we master our minds, we no longer live in fear. It is gone permanently. Absolutely. When the mind falls from its altar, we will rise to the summit. As we learn how to drop into a perpetual state of surrender, I emphasize perpetual state of surrender, allowing the greater intelligence of this universe to run the entire show. Genuinely, not superficial. A lot of people say, I mean deep within. We see how every precious moment in this life, and life in general, has this bigger universal force behind it all. It's only when, right? And I don't believe any of us are exempt from it when we get in the way. When our ego mind gets in the way. When this universe runs the entire show, we see how every precious moment in life has this bigger universal force behind it all. In seeing this, the mind totally gives up It gives up. That slick little critter gives up. And we realize that we have become the perfection that exists within everything. You've heard me share this before, but it's worth repeating more than once. When you look at something, okay, you usually will say, that's a rock. That's an interesting rock, but it's a rock. Or when you look at a tree, wow, that's a beautiful tree. Or a sunset. Or a beachfront. Or a mountain range. Whatever it may be. Or a cityscape. But where we miss the target is when we believe we're separate from it. You look at a rock, and the rock is different. It's unusual, right? You say to yourself, that's the God that I am. Or a tree, or a mountain range, or whatever it may be. Or a being. That is the God that I am. It's a whole different ballgame when you move yourself into that awareness. It is deep-seated that all energetic assemblances and all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever is the God that you are. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Ego mind, though, if you allow it to, will make that all obsolete. Because it knows that when you start to become aware of who and what you are, its time is limited. It's not an enemy. It's there for us. We created it there for us to master. And with enough awareness, because I believe that many of us will reach that awareness in depth, we can totally stop the judgmental mind habit and wake up from the addiction. Then we'll know what real freedom is like. And nothing else will satisfy more than this freedom. This true freedom is free from all forms of pain. It is the greatest experience of this life. This means the mind can slip back into clinging, right, to delusion and desire. And you don't. The mind might crave, whine, yearn to be free. Yet you know that you are the one behind it who is actually already free. You remain the watcher, deeply detached and liberated from the mind's antics. It is the greatest, deeply eternal loving of all when you realize that you are not your mind. I'll join you in the meditation. I'll return to close us out.
Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still, focused on relaxing into the body and watching the breath rise and fall. Practice more gratitude. Being grateful is one of the highest vibrations in this entire universe. It's up there next to love, trust, peace, and freedom. Gratitude is also one of the most powerful manifesting vibrations that we can tap into. When we are truly grateful, not superficially, and deep within, for what is, this universe rewards us by giving us more of what we like. Like attracts like. So when you're truly thankful for every moment that you're alive, it ignites your soul's deepest purpose. To love this amazing gift of life. And if your gratitude engines are a bit rusty, don't worry. It just means you have a bunch of old stuck appreciations inside that are soon going to be released. Just keep trying, start your gratitude engine the very first thing every morning. And soon it will be purring like a kitten again. It's easy to be more grateful because it's always a heartwarming, feel-good, deeply eternal loving experience. There's nothing better than mastering the amazing practice of gratitude. The early morning sunrise tomorrow is going to look oh so beautiful. It's time to wake up to a brighter, happier you. Take this with you for the rest of the day into the evening and night and the following morning. We'll return here tonight for the reverse aging health call and all the rest a little after 9:15 p.m. Eastern, September 6, 2024. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest deepest, purest of the purest purest. Eternal gratitude at all times. No matter what's happening within you or outside of you. Open your heart. Allow the magic to flow in.